We're going to have some fun today. Do you want to talk about kitchens? Should we talk about kitchens? Let's talk about kitchens. How about we talk about more than a kitchen? Designing for the multi-generational modern home. I had a remarkable opportunity with some incredible industry experts to discuss the shift from the triangle to the zone in a deep way, and the explosion of ADUs in Southern California, and why your Pinterest board might be lying to you. This is a roundtable discussion, peer-to-peer. And by the way, I'm not involved in this conversation. This is all a peer-to-peer conversation, designers and architects and builders amongst themselves talking about the industry. This conversation moves beyond simple aesthetics to explore how the post-pandemic home has become a multifunctional hub, from the technical complexities of electrical heavy kitchens to the rise of accessory dwelling units as multi-generational lifelines. This episode serves as a masterclass, really, in the collaborative effort required to build a forever home in today's market. You are going to hear from Daniel Franco, Denise Fernandez, Tanisha Johnson-Moore, J.R. Rodriguez, and Verzine Hovasapyan, who you've heard before from Pacific Sales on this panel today. Just amazing. Here's what we're talking about. It's the great post-pandemic kitchen reset. We're talking about things like the death of the work triangle, the intergenerational anchor. You know, as adult children and elderly parents move back, kitchens are expanding into living areas. And I've never liked the term heart of the home, because I don't think that's relevant anymore. I think the kitchen is more mission control than heart of the home. I think that's more appropriate. We talk about specialization over basic cabinetry. You know, how clients now prioritize hyper-specific electrical heavy stations, like those for advanced smoothie stations, or with advanced plumbing for complex water filtration, or coffee obsessions. It's really getting specialized, and aging in place and wellness are so important right now. It's critical to the kitchen conversation. And that death of the kitchen triangle, once accepted, has led to wellness and innovation. And getting there is really a team-first approach. So we talk about a lot, and you're going to hear a fantastic conversation with this great group of professionals, and you're going to hear it all right after this. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific Sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights.
I'm Daniel Franco, owner of Duman Builders. We do residential and commercial retail For residential, it's primarily remodels, so kitchen, bathrooms. The typical interior remodels, we do exterior and ground up, but it's not as typical. And for commercial, we are primarily on experiences. So like we did a couple projects at the Beverly Center for these virtual reality labs or escape rooms, like stuff that is specialty. Also restaurants and stuff like that. We just finished a grill house in Culver City, which is like a meat market, pretty cool, but more like a specialty. I guess I was invited here by Josh, but I also came through Christian. I don't know if you guys know Christian from the Warren.
Yes.
She's great, and we've been doing a couple projects together lately, so I think that's how we got here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hi guys, Denise Fernandez with Johnson and Fernandez Interior Design. We specialize in residential and commercial. New design, built from the ground up, new construction, interiors, you name it, we do it. And this is my business partner.
Hi, I'm Tanisha Johnson Monroe of Johnson and Fernandez Interior Design. As my partner says, we specialize in, we do everything, all full service design, mostly residential, but we've dipped our feet into commercial. I think what we specialize in the most and what we typically get hired for is our use of color. So everyone's like, color's back. I'm like, color never left. It's always been here.
Oh, it's
so
here.
no more gray,
Yeah.
color is back. So I think that's typically what we tend to specialize in.
Nice. Hello, I'm JR with Joseph Interiors. I'm the founder and principal. We are a studio, interior design studio in South Orange County. We specialize in custom residential design, mostly homes from new builds to large renovations. Our specialties are kitchen and bath designs, which I think we're talking about that today. It's exciting. And so that's...
Hi everyone, I'm Verzine Hovasapyan. I'm the Director of Innovation for Pacific Sales for all of our 20 stores. Not only do I help elevate our relationships with the community, with trade events and hosting certain shows just like today, but also it's the things that we do to communicate what we do as Pacific Sales to try to bring the one-stop shop anywhere from kitchen and bath to appliances to outdoor, and to bring the innovation for our customers and learning what's the new thing, the new traditions and everything that's coming in as color is changing, trying to bring back everything we learned from the trade and show them what we could do in the products.
Great. Very cool. Okay, so the only thing I will ask before we get going, the cans make a lot of noise. Rings, bracelets, cups, taps. I will hear all of that. So,
So last sips.
if you could, or when you go to put it down, if you do it,
Just be
that,
careful.
that's fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we chose a metal table again.
Exactly.
I purposely didn't wear
I just
bracelets.
remembered, I know. Last time I took this off, I just because you forget.
I just thought about that. So, okay, I'm gonna set the table, and then after we get going, whoever doesn't start, I'll start with the person probably next to them. So that's your incentive to be the one to start talking, because I can't take you first, and then we'll go over there and we'll record first. The prompt is, what have you seen? What are the major changes that you have seen in Southern California kitchen design, new build, architecture, design? What are the major changes based on what you've done, what you've seen, what you've been asked to do since not the start of the pandemic, but let's talk about when it wound down. So let's call it 22.
One of the things that I've noticed, a lot of the families are coming back, like children who left for college are coming back, elderly are coming back into the home. So some of the things that people were not using their homes as much are getting back into entertaining and using their home and their kitchen being the heart of the home a lot more, and more accessible, usable space.
Okay.
Yeah, you hit entertaining, and I think what we can talk on is a lot of the families that we've worked with, which we predominantly work with families, they entertain a lot. And I think what we've done is either expanded their kitchen tremendously, We've extended kitchens out into living spaces. We've also done where, after the pandemic, islands became workspaces, almost like a desk. You know, some people didn't go back to the office and they stayed home to work, and so now that became a workspace for them. So we had to create a design that kind of catered to that change in, you know, their life.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say also one thing that we see a lot is it used to be you know, earlier, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe even 70s, you would have one cook. So it was predominantly possibly the wife that was cooking. Now you see couples cooking, or the husband predominantly cooks, or it's everyone in the home is cooking. So I think having to expand that space to accommodate multi-use and several cooks in the kitchen, if you will, seems to be happening quite a bit as well.
Yeah, one of the major changes, I would start with function, right? Because now we expand the use of the kitchen. Back in the day, my architectural school days, you think of the triangle. Now we're talking about zones.
Zone-based.
So it started to like,
Very
this
different.
is your baking zone, and I call them like stations. Like this is mission control for your small tasks
Right.
at work and kids and homework, and
Right.
there's a breakfast, station. So all the bars, and so I've seen this drastic of like expanding the typical function of a kitchen.
On the builder side, I would agree with that. Is the specialty type of areas of the kitchen that now clients really want to focus on. Not so much the uppers and lower cabinets. More like, am I going to have my coffee station that has the filtration system, that has the correct, salt input, or whatever they want to specialize into. So like, it's a very electrical heavy kitchen now. Very coordinated in advance, just because all that needs to go in months before even the cabinetry is fabricated. But I have seen a ton of upfront coordination increasing since then because of the specialty areas of each kitchen.
Yeah.
So on my end, I see that too.
The sort of wellness, since with COVID, I think we expanded into like areas of kitchen, and appliances are also following that trend. Steam ovens, I've never, up until like 2020, even talked about it, or induction, getting rid of the gas and emissions. So I think people have become more aware of what makes a home healthy in terms of finishes and appliances and selections.
Correct. And we had a project in Redondo where she incorporated a kitchenette upstairs on the 3rd floor because she's older, and I think she was forward thinking in that sense. So she took was it a closet?
It was a closet. So she had a closet that was not being utilized, and we thought, why don't we turn this into a kitchenette, so she doesn't have to go downstairs. She never went to the kitchen anyway. So now she's like, and it's off her bedroom. So she gets up, she makes her coffee. There's a refrigerator there. The only thing it doesn't have is a stove, but it has, all the other things that she could use, so that she doesn't have to go up and down the stairs.
Smeg appliances, super cute.
The induction maybe for her countertop.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a really cute space that I think she maximized like to the best of her ability. I think it turned out great.
So to your point, function. Like, what are these spaces that we can, utilize and make sure that they are functioning for the families that we're creating for?
And on a floor plan basis, the footprint of the kitchens continues to increase for that reason.
Yes.
So higher clearances, the island actually I have seen smaller islands lately, just because the clear spaces, they want to have more people in the kitchen.
Right.
So I am seeing smaller, kind of like even furniture style islands that I think they go pretty well with the new layout of those kitchens, right?
Yeah. And the idea of like a secondary kitchen or a pantry, chef's kitchen, it's coming back. Which, for centuries we kind of went away from that, the whole open plan, which is still happening, but I think it's becoming more compartmentalized.
With that, and we might be deviating a little, but the doors and partition types also kind of like get incorporated in those designs. So like a lot of pocket doors we're seeing, specialty glass pocket doors with like some privacy that still kind of like you can still see lighting through. I've seen the partitions go along the kitchen as well with like millwork.
Some of them who extend out to the outdoors, like when they slide open and it has more like
a California room,
or the
like an extension.
bifolds kind of like exterior.
Yeah, to the patio where it makes it more when you're entertaining or kid parties, then you could have indoor outdoor all in one.
Yeah, it's essentially adding square footage to the main house. You're extending the interior to your exterior, and now I mean, 1,000 square feet of entertainment space that you didn't have before, and you have a kitchen in there now, and you have a fire pit, and you have all these things, and it's like it's really changing how people view their house, and treat their home.
Just kind of like what you had mentioned with multiple chefs in the home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, sentence we used to use, we don't need, but it's happening. What are some of the interviews or like the questionnaires you guys typically ask to get ahead of that? Or how do you start the process? Because some person may be a coffee fanatic, maybe baking. A lot of people are baking their own bread nowadays, so what are some ways you guys get around to those questions?
We have an extensive kitchen questionnaire that we ask. It's multiple pages, and we sit down with them.
Most people don't want to fill out.
So even if they say, "Oh, I don't want to fill it out," you have to fill it out, and we will sit with you and fill it out because it's very important that we plan ahead of time, and we ask them very specific questions. How many people cook in the home? You like coffee, I like tea, whatever.
Are you
those
left-handed?
things
Are you right-handed?
Right.
There's things that, everyone
Those
lives
things.
different, everyone moves differently, and it's really important that we get it right, because the biggest thing, to your point, was functionality.
Yeah.
What functions for me might not be the same for you,
Exactly.
and that's
That's
really
different.
important.
Yeah.
And it has to be specific to the client. That's
Yeah.
why there's no right fit for a kitchen. It's whatever is specific to that family.
Yeah, part of our planning, we also have a very sturdy questionnaire. It is pages long. I tell clients, take your bottle of wine,
Right.
sit down, take your time. I mean, I am genuinely interested into knowing what is your daily routine, and who's making breakfast, at what time, and what do we need, how many, do you need 2 sinks, a prep sink, a normal
Right.
sink, a pull-down faucet? So there are a series of questions that I try not to bombard them with first, but at least get a general idea of how the family functions and what are those functions to be applied into the design and layout.
Yeah, because it helps you decide not only the appliances or the
Yeah,
kitchen and bath, as you were
capacity
mentioning,
and all
correct. And with a lot of the newer innovations, then you get to learn of how much do they know, and where do you inject with some of the technology that's being used. We talk about wellness. A lot of people are learning you could do a lot of these things at home, like some of the steam showers and being able to have perfect lighting, the shades, automated, things like that. So you feel better when you're in a more at ease environment.
Yeah. You'll be surprised when you can describe it. I've had a client a few years ago that she was all about ice, just plain old ice. So we
Of what? I'm sorry?
ice.
Oh, ice.
Like ice, the different types of ice cubes
Oh, okay,
and top
okay.
hats, and we literally started the selection of appliances because of the quality of the ice and
wow.
sparkling water. We had to have an entire system in their bar just for sparkling water. It's that specific. So I would have never found that out without having these deep
Asking those
conversations
questions,
and
yeah.
asking those questions.
Up front.
Right. It's some of those basic questions that get started is we talk about before the walls go up, I'm asking this so I know what to plug in there, or what is your dream, what would you like? Doesn't necessarily mean we have the budget right now, but it might be something you might like in the future if we don't plan for it. Amperage, outlets, things like that. Like the basic bidet, nobody was putting outlets next to the toilet before, and now it's like
It's a regular thing.
It's like the first thing I go to.
We just had a conversation about that.
We did.
You need an outlet. And every time we do a bathroom, it's like, put an outlet back there.
Exactly.
You're probably going to want...
Yeah, not just a hairdryer outlet.
Right.
Based on that, I'm curious, at what stages do you guys engage a contractor? Just because every time I keep getting asked earlier in the project stage, even before going to plan check, of input like this, how do you see the panel going based on this list of appliances? At what stages do you guys like to engage contractors based on what Virginia said?
We do a discovery call to kind of gather some information with the client, and then we do an on-site visit, like an initial consultation. From there, after that, we do want to get the contractor involved, because there's things that they can answer that we necessarily don't have the information nor the answers for, and we don't want to answer incorrectly either. We don't want to provide incorrect information. We like to get the contractors involved as much as possible, as early as possible. It's better that you work as a team,
Right.
because that's something that you're going to have to do anyways, because there's going to be a contractor involved.
And the input, I assume, from the contractor can help you lay out things.
Absolutely.
That and we
Right.
learn. I mean, we all
Right.
learn,
Of course.
so it's
Conflicts in advance.
100%.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
our dream of what we want might not work.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we get the contractor involved early, and what Denise is saying is true. We work as a team, and whatever contractor we work with, a couple different ones, we tell them up front, this is a team effort. We are on site. We make sure everything is running. So it's not just handed to the contractor, we walk away and we show up on, install day.
99 day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's-
We're there from start to finish.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
As a team.
Same goes with an architect. And we've had the same, we've heard the same things from contractors and architects. They like the fact that designers get involved earlier than not, because there's things that they see it their way, but a designer's eye is different. It's not a right or wrong, but it helps everyone kind of brainstorm together and then, ultimately deliver the best possible design for the client.
Yeah, it's heavy on the collaborative aspect of design, but I do feel like as interior designers, we are driving that
Yes.
vision, and you need to be very clever on how to abide to, timelines and budgets. It's sort of big
Yes.
budget constraints, but it takes a lot of sharing ideas and information with everybody on the trade. I was surprised with the cabinet maker. We have these long meetings, and they come up with something that, yes, that's exactly what we were thinking, but we didn't quite get there
Right.
on planning, and now here we are, and so we have to be very open to everybody, because everybody will come up with a
And I
solution
think
that
what
works.
happens sometimes when you get into the build side of things, they try to walk away from the design aspect of it. And it's so crucial. They kind of think, oh, well, maybe I could just do it myself or this and that. And it's super important to try to get a designer on board with the whole team to help maneuver that whole process. And we see that often. And then they kind of get ahead, and then they call you, and then it's like, now you got to do damage control a little bit, but it always works out. But I think they try to bypass design. They don't think it's that important, and it's super important.
And I think the fact that the team starts as a team helps, because communication sometimes when the client is involved gets blown up to proportions that, and me as a GC of course, to a proportion that is not actually the way it is. Like if a designer, an architect, and a GC are talking before conveying that message to the client, is 20 times less alarming, 20 times less kind of like, concerning for the client. Just because if you start as some group with the same north, it's easier to pick up a call and call Denise and say, hey, this is not going to work. Let's just present the client already a solution instead of just an OAC meeting with, hey, here's 20 RFIs and these things is not going to work, right?
Right.
So especially for a kitchen, which is so complex itself,
Right.
I think that approach helps, especially the earlier engagement.
I agree.
Sometimes I always, from my learning and being part of the trade and kind of evolving this last 3 years, I feel the designer is the one that's constantly learning because of the trades and the CEUs, the requirements to keep your license going
Absolutely.
and your expertise. You learn more of what's today. It's like right now when I hear someone say, oh, I want to choose my appliances first before we design, I get so excited because for so many years they were telling us, oh, we'll pick up cabinets and you'll go find appliances that fit their standard. There is no such thing. There's no standard
there's no
in anything anymore, because it's become luxury where you could build it any way you want, which
Right.
means there's a lot more room for error.
Right.
So to partner ahead of time,
Right.
it's
Absolutely.
the crucial. You'll save money more in the long run.
Thank you.
Without the damage
Thank you
control.
for saying that. You do. They try to save money by axing out the designer, but sometimes if you don't get everybody involved, you end up spending more.
You are listening to a conversation, a peer-to-peer kitchen conversation live from Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, the Huntington Beach showroom, and we'll be right back. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on 3 priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1. Aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2. Durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3. Sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas, which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. The design industry is in the midst of a generational and fundamental change. If you're in the biz, you feel it. I know you do. We all do. Just about every aspect of the industry is growing, changing, and turning into something entirely different due to a number of factors that, not to go into here, but between tariffs and supply chain and political influence, just clients have changed. Pricing has changed. Everything about the industry has changed, except for one thing: the need for strong design and architecture communities. And that's what led to the creation of Shelter Republic, an online community exclusively for the design and architecture communities, a place to engage with other like-minded creatives outside of the prying eyes of clients and the media. Wouldn't you like to belong to a nurturing community where you can have those real, challenging, authentic conversations, watch exclusive design-focused content, take free courses to level up your design business, hear from experts in the industry, guiding you and helping you move ever forward? And it's free to join. No catch, but it's invitation only. This is not like maybe some other programs you've heard of before where you pay a fee, a sizable fee, and go through a quasi-vetting process only to get there and realize that you're kind of just paying for an ad. That is not what this is. If you're a designer or an architect, you qualify. If you want in, email convobydesign@outlook.com and type Shelter Republic in the subject line. That's it. An invitation to join will follow. Call this the anti-social media platform where you can meet, engage, and share ideas in a safe, closed community environment of like-minded creatives. That's what this is, and like I said, it's free to join. Send an email, convobydesign@outlook.com. Subject line is Shelter Republic. It's that simple. And like I said, it's free to join.
To your point about the appliances, we have, in the last few years, we've had clients get these really large refrigeration systems. So you have to plan early. We had one, it was 6 feet. And we were like, oh yeah, okay, so we have to configure this kitchen around this 6-foot refrigerator.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you wait till the last minute,
that wall.
It was.
You're going to come with your 3-foot refrigerator. It's not going to work.
And then they said, "Where's my cabinet?"
No,
Right,
it
and where are
ended
my
up being
cabinets?
it ended up being like that's what we're designing around.
Okay.
Right.
That is the thing.
Right.
I mean, it's 6 feet. It literally
Right.
was like
It
half
was
of
the
the
whole
wall.
wall.
Yeah.
So when you walked into the kitchen, it was a really awesome. You could see the potential. It had a pitched roof, and you could see like, okay, that's where the refrigerator was already there.
Okay.
But that's where it kind of had to stay. You really didn't
Right.
have any way around that. It didn't make sense to move it, but it was off. Wasn't it off-centered? Yeah, it was off-centered, so it looked awkward.
I see.
So when we redesigned it based off of what they wanted, because they entertain a lot, they come from big families and whatnot, that was going to be the thing that they were going to invest in the most, and that became when you walked in and you saw the kitchen. That's what it was all paneled. It was all paneled.
And then
but
we had to
it's
problem
beautiful.
solve too, that you don't, so if your refrigerator is that large, you are losing cabinet space. So
Correct.
how do we deal with that? So showing them this is how much cabinet space you're gonna lose, but you're gaining this amazing thing, but
Right.
how can we then smartly plan the rest of this kitchen to accommodate the loss of that cabinet space, and how are we gonna design it
Yeah.
so that you have everything that you want?
Yeah,
So I
because-
think planning those appliances early is crucial.
Correct, because there's so many different ways of redoing that. Sometimes not everyone needs this freezer space the way
Right.
that 6 foot would have provided to them. Maybe because they entertain 18-inch, 24-inch wine column would have probably filled up that space better in the long run. And then we have freezer drawers or chest freezer in the garage. You know,
Absolutely.
something basic as that.
They had all
Could have-
that. They had one in the garage.
They had
it
an ADU in the back that had a kitchenette.
Yeah.
That's
They
what they
definitely
wanted.
that
yeah,
large
that's what
because
they wanted.
we went through all of that. Do you want a wine fridge? But
Yeah.
it was the home was really centered around the children, and
And
their
that
house
kitchen.
was like the gathering space, and all the kids came and they wanted it to be able to open that refrigerator, and the kids
and
could get
most
what
of
they
the stuff
want.
is just inside the house.
accessible.
So, but it goes to just planning specifically for each client that you work with, because every kitchen's different.
And losing cabinet space is actually a big issue now with a lot of concealed appliances. You know, I don't know, microwave, let's say an example, but every one of these are taking away cabinet
Yes.
space.
Yes.
So like,
They're gaining counter space.
Yes.
Because
They're
they're
taking it.
doing the appliance garages
Yes.
or whatnot, you know, like
Yeah.
hiding. But they're taking away from the cabinet space.
and
It's true.
in counter space, usually clients don't want to like put stuff on there.
Right.
Let's say when they have people over, they want to just have it a clean counter space. So I keep seeing, for example, upper shelving started to become like more like upper cabinets again. Usually there was maybe 3-4 years ago there was a ton of upper shelving, kind of like open in a kitchen.
Like plain
Yes.
shelves.
Yeah,
like
plain
room
shelving.
shelves. Yeah.
And I even did one of my properties like that too. I did a ton of upper shelving, and ultimately at the end, it's turning into more like one of those glass upper cabinet type of times where like you still want to see it, but
old China cabinets.
you want to put you want to conceal stuff too. So the space now with bigger appliances is becoming even more valuable. Corners for cabinetry are now people are becoming like my cabinet subs are becoming so kind of like
Every
ingenious
corner you
with
wanna
like
use
what
it.
they do. So that's going to lead to probably optimization of spaces. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's true. If you were going to think about like partnerships, as we talked about, like the trade, like the contractor and the architect, what is one thing you wish like the stores or the retailers would do
Oh,
better
that's more of a her question.
to help?
Yeah.
How can the showrooms and manufacturers
Help with the
help
partnership.
more? Yeah.
That's a great question.
Maybe on the sourcing end.
Maybe,
kinda
I mean,
what we do
I
now?
think our partnerships are, I
Pretty
mean, there's
solid.
always room for improvement, but I think we're really good at partnering with our vendors early. And them, one thing we typically rely on them to, you know what I will say? I think the vendors could do a not a better job, but maybe a differently is maybe letting the client come to them and kind of tell them what their needs are versus just pushing a product. For example, let's say Wolf, which is, super, a higher end brand. I'm just using it as an example. Encouraging the client to select the appliance more on their needs and less about aesthetics or this is the popular brand or I want everyone to see the red knobs or what, whatever. So I think our vendors do a good job of that, but I think there's always room for improvement. And just making sure to partner with us and maybe having more not necessarily webinars, but maybe in-store
Like
events
training?
for designers and training, because a lot of times we rely on the trades to let us know specifics for a specific appliance, but it would be nice to have some of that information that we could give instead of kind of relying on our vendors to tell us everything we need to know about the specific stove or refrigerator. So I think maybe more training around that is always great. We always love to learn. We're always learning new things, and we like to know what the newest thing is. I think that would be.
I also have some feedback, I guess, as a contractor. Lead time in terms of like being able to not dial, because we know it's a moving world in terms of like procurement, but having a more controlled window for delivery, for example. And again, I don't even know this is under your control because there's so many. It's a downstream chain of people, but being able to kind of like pin down a date at a closer range than, let's say, a 4-month period, a 4-week period, that we get, or 3-week, I don't know. Like if let's say the procurement starts earlier and the team decides to go with this package, being able to kind of like have those deliveries, it helps a lot for everybody.
To set like a better expectation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if it means, hey, it's not going to be 3 months, it's going to be 4 months, saying that from the beginning helps everybody plan around it because, roughing, finishes, all that stuff can be moved around to be able to accommodate the updated deliveries.
Yeah, some of the conversations like discovery stage, it helps like what we talk about in that sense is like we get customers that come in like on fire. We need it tomorrow and it's about plumbing, right? Well, my plumber told me I need everything. And we find out they don't even have the drywall up yet. And they haven't even ordered shower doors, which we know is the longest like lead time, for an example, right? So we're like, oh, you just mean you need the valves. Okay, let's pick what you want.
Rough out.
We'll
The roughs,
order what you like, the style, the color you want. It'll be about 4 to 6 weeks lead time. We'll tell you ahead of time. But tonight you could walk away with the rough valves, so they could continue building and working. And it's just that communication and clarification in your point is ahead of time and understanding what to pick up, because we're so quick in wanting to sell you what's in stock because we want you to be happy, but then it sits in your home for 6 weeks and they can't find the box later, So we try to prevent any customer dissatisfaction like in any sort, because even though we didn't cause it, we don't want you to have a bad experience.
Correct.
So try to clarify a lot of that. That's a great point, to always be in front of it.
And without a designer involved, it's harder for you to convey what the client needs because a client doesn't have the background. So I think that's also where the value of having a designer early is like, hey, client, let me guide you through this purchase, because you could really make a big mistake if you're just not going with the correct rough. So
right. Yes, and it's important to ask. That's one of our high points. We try to find out, are you working with anyone? When sometimes they come in on their own. Oh, we're looking 6 months. I understand it might be 6 months, but you don't know how time
Correct.
flies.
Yeah.
Just so we could partner with them. And sometimes, just like we don't like giving specs unless you're purchasing, because you could change your mind and then the whole design has changed. So let's clarify with your designer or your partner, trade partner you're working with, which stage of the process you're in.
absolutely.
Yes, and some of the changes that are also happening around the home, as we talked about the stations, I was doing like rough math. We could easily talk about just kitchen and bath, like faucets, and there's like 12 sections of the home that could go in. A wet bar, the island, you talk about it, the main sink, the bathroom,
Laundry
4 or 5
everywhere.
bathrooms, the laundry outdoors, because more people are cooking outside, making more outdoor kitchens. When you think about the different evolution of way of people are designing outside of like extensions, I'm noticing more ADUs coming into play. What are your guys' experiences with that?
ADUs are really, they have been for a while, especially in Orange County. I don't know about LA, but I feel like LA too. Yeah, I think ADUs have become, again, to your point that we were talking about earlier, now you have, people that are coming back to the home, whether it's the kids or whether it's parents or elderly parents that now are coming back. So everyone's trying to get a little bit more creative as to how they can add square footage. And I think most of the people are turning to ADUs. That way you're still in the same, lot, but you're not necessarily stuck in the same house. And you have your own space, right? Your own space, your own privacy. But we've seen a lot of development in ADUs. I mean, that's what we do that as well with one of our contractors in Orange County. We've teamed up with Devi Construction in Orange County, where they do. All their client is ADU. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of evolution in everything. The rules and qualifications, permits have changed, and in some cases made it easier for garages to switch to
conversion.
ADUs, conversion. Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of that come through, and some people who've been thinking about remodeling haven't started just because it's hard to move out or
of
go
the
anywhere
house.
else. Yeah, so they've done that. They've converted
the garage,
the ADU, and they live there.
I see. Oh, okay.
While their main house, they take their time and they can make it.
Smart.
Yeah, they can make it to whatever they want, and they're on the site to keep an eye on, and make sure it's the project they want.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with the recent fires, there was some of that happened that are changing from our Altadena customers that we're seeing too. That the main house got affected, but the garage wasn't. So to stay on the lot, and because they want to keep their home.
Wow, they were able to stay there? Wow.
Yeah, some of them were able to do that.
I mean, the only downside to that is you lose your garage. Probably depends on the person.
Community and needs, yes.
You lose that garage space if that's what you utilize it for. But other than that, that's actually that's really smart, actually.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the just some of my friends that were going through, and have two in-laws that live in the same home, and for the longest time they hadn't thought about that, and since the rules changed, now they're able to still help support, but they don't have to be all in the same house.
Correct.
Like, literally sleeping on the couch.
Correct.
Now they have an actual dedicated private place for one of them.
Especially if you have a 2-story. That way nobody has to go upstairs. Everything's on the ground floor.
For sure.
Yeah.
Those ADUs, actually, people are using them for pretty much just entertainment at some points. We just finished one. This was just a remodel of the ADU. It was just a garage, actually, separate garage. And the client, he's an actor, and he is running his show in that ADU. His wife does chocolate, and I think they're starting to film the show at the ADU pretty much and there is entertainment as well, but it's not the typical ADU anymore that is like great floors and the super small fridge and stuff like that. It is a space where you really want to spend some time. Even it can turn into an office, and the same day you can be cooking. As you just said, you could just be the same lot, but just have your space.
Privacy. Yeah.
So it becomes appealing even for clients that don't want to rent it out.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good topic.
Income.
A lot of them was income.
Yeah.
A lot of it's been income. That's what the conversions of the garage or ADUs have driven a lot of homeowners to do ADUs now, is income.
Yeah. I've seen interesting change too, which, thinking me in its place, if I was to do that, right, I would want my main house, but I've seen people downsize, when the kids are out, there's just, mom and dad by themselves, they move to the ADU and they rent the front house to get more income or leverage.
Okay.
That's true.
To help support the kid that's in the school. And that was an interesting turn of events for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think creating these hybrid spaces are going to be more frequent, with the challenges of nowadays with kids coming back, aging parents, and
Cost
things
of
like
living,
that.
everything.
Cost of living. We
it's
have to
insane.
get very creative with that aspect of our
we
home.
have
If you
to.
dug, or go up or down or
Right.
expand,
Well, that's
these
the other
livable
thing.
spaces.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier today. It's not the same environment where people are constantly buying houses anymore. It just feels like you're going to be there for a while, and you want to take advantage of that time or any way you can. Or even if you do move, you're thinking, maybe my kids could have this one,
Yeah, it's usually inherited.
Right.
It's gifted, inherited.
Yeah, and it's harder to give up because for that same value, you might not get the same space.
So that's what my parents are older, and everyone's out of the house. Same thing. I've tried to convince my dad, maybe you guys should just consider selling the house. It's a great location. It's a great house. Just to not have the upkeep of it anymore, because it's 2,500 square feet.
Right.
And nobody's upstairs. They're just downstairs. So it's like but to his point and what you said, it's like if he sells that house and and he's like, I'm just gonna stay. Why would I do that? That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The way rates were and payment and everything. I mean, not payment, but the rates and everything.
Still,
Yeah.
Everything comes into consideration because some of them are grandfathered in, and some of the good rates they have.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of these homes, especially if you bought a home, I mean, even like a 5 to 10 year turnaround in California, most areas in California, you'll double the value of your home. It's 5 to 10 years. Yeah, like even to see, like there was, my in-laws, for instance, they bought their home in the 80s, late 80s, and my husband always comments how he got his condo for the same amount of money, obviously 30 years later. So just to give a reference of cost, obviously back in the 80s, the home that they bought was not your standard home, but still, like to your point, if they were to sell it now and trying to buy something equivalent to just a better space, but better flow, they would be spending half of that on a much smaller house. So we have to come up with, ideas. I'm like, maybe I was like, let's just build an ADU because they have a huge lot. We'll build an ADU, we'll move in, or you guys move there. You can do whatever you want with the house. And
it's interesting how like growing up, we think as children like I can't wait until I'm 18 to leave. And then as adults, you're like, okay, we all need to come back together, save money, and figure out a way. It's okay, I'll live with your mom.
Or just going back to take care of your parents. Someone always has to step up. So that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, when the time comes to need, and it's like I feel like I think of my parents as like an example. I think my mom and dad have always lived with someone. Like, there was not ever a time when they were
lived
alone.
on their own.
It was always my dad's parents, and when they passed away, my grandma from my mom's side finally moved here, and so now it's like they're doing it all over again, and it's just the difference is my mom's actually retired where she could enjoy some of the time with her, That's the only difference. But in the things of like when I think about getting married at 19, I should have bought that home. That was like $60,000, right, back then. But I've like rented all my life, and I could have probably paid off 6 homes by now, And it's just like one of those things. In 26 years, things have evolved so much.
The market, it's California. Our market here is different than most, the rest of the country, but it's definitely worth investing in, real estate and expansions, and I'm all for renovations, and it's I tell clients like it's a lot more, perhaps more than what you want to spend, but just 5 years from now this is going to add so much value to your home.
And I would say, at least for our experience and what we've seen, the majority of our clients, these are their forever homes. I think there's maybe one right now that potentially would sell, but most of these people are like, no, this is our forever home, we're not going. So it's like, that's exactly why you should just do it. It's like you can't take it with you. You're not, so enjoy it while you have it. Life's short. And getting them to really understand, it makes you feel a certain way when you're in a space like that.
Like it's their forever home, because it's going to be very meaningful. There's a lot of, even the way they're going to make decisions, it's like there's this sort of sense of ownership, and it's like, yes, this is going to be great.
Yeah, and it gives them an opportunity to finally have something that maybe they've always dreamed of or wanted, and it's like, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And giving them the possibilities.
And just the little nudge of like, it's okay. When you invest that much money into something, it's jarring, but it's getting them to understand you're not going anywhere. So why not enjoy it while you're here?
Yes, and the long run too, as you talk about bringing value to the home. If they were going to talk about like, eventually we're going to leave it to the kids.
Yeah, their children.
You tell them that this brings value.
Correct.
And when you do tell them, like, if you are a chef and you want that high-end kitchen, it's going to also add value to your home. Anything you pay to today in dollars, it'll pay for itself when you're ready to sell the home or turn it over to your kids.
And eventually, if you do sell it, you're going to drive that buyer to want to pay for that value that they see, because it is a value. It's value.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I often look at open houses, and as a designer, we're trained. We can look at a space and say, "Oh, there is some, trained eye to create the space," and you see on the cost. It just looks very different when you have something that's like designed by a professional. It elevates and put them in a different category of homes.
Down to the very end, when we prep a house, stage, and photograph at the end of every project, Tanisha does a wonderful job of honing in on the client's final overall look of that space, and it takes time. And I think what happens sometimes is, because they've gone through a renovation or they've gone through this kind of long experience, they just want, they want to get to that finish line, and we kind of have to bring them back a little bit. It's like, just trust us in, these are all specially curated pieces to you specifically, and when they see it all come together, and like when she finishes the space, they're just kind of like, oh, I get it.
And that's the
Oh,
difference,
that
I
makes so
think,
much sense.
too.
Thank you.
We talk about like
It's like, you're welcome.
right brain or whatever the vision. I think the designer eye is more like, I could picture what that couch is going to look like over
Right.
there. I don't need
Right.
to physically move it to know
Right.
it goes or not.
Right.
Versus, let's say, where, we have, let's say, a contractor that's doing the job or an architect that drew it out.
Very different eyes.
They're just black and white,
Right.
like to the book.
Not all. We've seen some that have shocked us, but for the
Good.
most part, there's some
Yeah.
that do bring a designer eye, but most of the time, to your point,
Yeah,
it's very,
there's a different
now it's their
value.
eye. Yeah.
So the question I've been thinking about is kind of like loaded in a way, because I know the industry has changed and our experienced shoppers and age group has changed. So like, I almost want to say, what is it that you wish your customers knew before they came and met you? But at the same time, when I think of the younger crowd, I was like, well, they didn't know, because sometimes they research overly, get sold on certain things. You're like, that is not what that looks like.
I think it's more I think it's both, but I wish what they didn't know. I wish they didn't scroll social media all the time. I wish they didn't look at these. I want this. Like, that doesn't work in your home. You can't. Or the Pinterest
AI.
board that
Oh
they
my
send
goodness.
us. Or AI that I'm like,
AI
that's
is
not a real
look,
product.
AI
It
is
doesn't
great,
exist.
and it's changing everything.
For sure.
But when they get hooked on some images, right, that she gets passed along or I get passed along, it's like, that's AI.
And now
It's
it's
also not
causing
your space.
Your house
space
is
doesn't even
nothing
look
like that.
And it's
And it
causing
can't.
you to now be an expert on AI to be able to tell it apart.
Well,
like, it's another
It
level
puts
of...
the pressure and expectation
Yeah.
of trying to accomplish something that's probably not something we can accomplish. Like, I don't care what builder or contractor or architect, I mean, you can only do so much. Yeah, money can buy a lot of things, sure. If you invest the money in it, yeah, you can pretty much pull off anything. But there's certain things that are just not feasible. And I think that's where it gets tricky with some of these AI-generated photos or some of the stuff that they try to find.
Or some of the stuff they say, I saw this and it's 20,000, but can we find the same thing for 1,000?
Yeah, it's the expectations, set of that expectations, right? So
Right.
you're looking at these homes and looking at these images, AI or not. It's if you're just scrolling through Pinterest and Instagram, it's like, you have to kind of look at your own space and see
Right.
what your needs are. And I
Right.
think it can. Yes, I utilize AI for certain things to develop
For sure.
a vision, but it's just a tool essentially that's gonna help us to get to a place. But comparing and creating that sort of ideas, we do have clients on our onboarding process. They bring out their Pinterest boards, and
Yes.
it's like, okay, let's study them. Let's see what makes sense. It doesn't. So it is, it can be useful, but it can also hurt a little bit if they don't know how to use it or understand it.
And it's useful in the sense that it's a good starting point. So I always encourage them, yes, show me your images and kind of what you've been thinking. But then we go through each photo and I say, why do you like this? What feeling does it, is it just a feeling that it's giving you, or do you like this specific product? And I think going through that process with them and talking through that then I know, okay, this is what we can and cannot do. To your point, yeah, we could pretty much do anything with the right budget,
Right.
but some things structurally like don't even make sense, and we can't. What you're looking at doesn't translate into your space, but we can get close and we can see what we can do that makes sense for you and your home. But those images are helpful to an extent, but everyone's a designer, so everybody thinks they,
And it's
that and TV.
yeah.
TV shows
Burning.
create a lot of, you like them for ideas and that's great, but sometimes it's like, but I saw it only took 2 weeks. That's not true.
A lot of cut and paste.
A lot of cut and paste, and the backs of those cabinets might not be done. I mean, I don't know what's going on in there. So, that may or may not be true. So I think sometimes it sets a false expectation.
Yeah, and some of it is like those shows are you didn't choose what you wanted. They just put together whatever they had
Right.
in their backyard.
Or they see the budget. Well, they did that house. I'm like, that's in another state,
I know. So,
first of all. And that's probably not the real budget. I mean, it's, they've gotten some
Or they
deals.
donations
right.
or things like that.
So,
It's a show.
yeah, it makes it sound like I remember like the early 2000s, not early like 2020s and late teens. The whole Waco, Texas, like fixer upper. Let me bring them here. People would come to us with that idea that you can do things for that amount of dollars. Like, well, they're in a different state, and frankly, this is a television show that's heavily sponsored by vendors. So
Right.
a lot of these things are just they're paying them to even use it on TV, right? So it's no longer, there's this fantasy of like social media and TV shows, design TV shows that are not super realistic, I think.
A lot of the different things and what we try to tell our teams here too, and part of getting involved in the community, I help also set up like our training and when we go back to the vendors and to the factories, I try to always give examples of low, medium, high, like the luxury, because if that customer saw the luxury but doesn't have the budget, then you
Right.
have the next best thing. Like I always used to use cars like the Lexus and Toyota, like I always have the
They
Toyota
both get you
option.
there.
They both
Right.
get you there.
What's the
Yeah.
experience like, right?
And your experience and the other toys and the additional things
Right.
you want to add to it,
Right.
so we can see what's more important. Most recent home that I helped kind of put together, it was interesting. They were heavy on entertaining, so they wanted their wine fridge, but the kitchen itself was not really being cooked on. So they went mid-range appliances. They're like not even 10,000 maximum, all 4 pieces, but spent 7,000 on a beverage that got done with a nice panel, fancy because they entertain in that area.
Right.
And catered all the time.
And that's what was important to them.
That was very important. So you have to find that hot button, what's
Absolutely.
important and where they're willing to spend their budget.
where you in, the B word.
And part of our process, you can relate to this, it is really the selection process is not just to put something that makes sense in terms of visuals, right? So you, as a designer, need to be very quick on your feet and sort of fine tune, okay, what are the priority lists? What are the main items? Like I tell clients, like, I'd rather have you spend more on your plumbing fixtures than perhaps on your tile, right?
jewelry
Or
of
even
your home.
even in the category of quartz. Quartzite's coming back, it's a new trend.
Yes.
All wood, stain grade cabinetry. There's ways to do with veneer on certain things,
Absolutely.
paneling on it. So there's all this value engineering that you have to be very good and work with a GC or an architect to sort of create that vision. Like level 5 drywalls, do we need it everywhere? No, you don't. I'm going to cover it, drywall with something interesting, paint, wall covering, paneling.
Right.
So there's, as a designer, you have to bring these skills to the table. So you still create that vision, you provide them to something that they want, but it fit that budget. It really worked.
I think you designers go through the first round of value engineering, even before the project gets put together.
Exactly.
So like contractors, we pride ourselves because we do value engineering, but it's not true. It's just the last round of it. What you guys do constantly is that, and you guys here as well. Like you're offering a wide range of products, you guys in terms of design, but like you're selecting all that final product as you go, and then me as a GC, of course I have a limited type of value engineering I can offer based on that design, but you guys do way earlier, which means there's a ton of options for each category. So I think it's hard to narrow the options for a client and make sure they still get what they want. So like I think it's really hard.
Or once they find what they like, stop looking. I call it the wedding dress all the time. I'm like, you've chosen something, stop looking.
Yeah.
Stop
Well, they're gonna come
reading.
back to this. They're gonna come back to that same.
They always come back.
They always
Yeah,
come
but
back.
it's like,
After doing another round.
And then
Midnight
Yeah.
text that you get.
and then
I
it's not
saw.
stuck in
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
I'm like, stop looking.
Stop looking. I know. I always say it's like your wedding dress. You chose it. You like it. Just
Right.
stop.
Because there's a million, if you keep looking, you will never finish your project.
Yeah, I tell clients we
Because
can
there's so
design.
many
We could be
options.
designing this for a
We
long
could,
time.
we
So
could.
it's how important it is that we
How long do you
stick
wanna
to a
do
timeline.
this?
Right.
Yeah.
We used to do this interesting role play. Like, you know, when we're learning about products, we want to ensure every person on the sales floor knows what's available for our customers. But within 5 questions, more or less asking you, let's say if we're talking about fridges, I already could envision the model number or the product I'm going to show you because I'm asking what's important to you. And it's kind of like what's become in finding out, like, who cooks, who entertains, who's using it. Like, you already know, and sometimes to know when to stop talking. Because if they're set on something, you don't want to kill their dream either. You tell them the key points and maybe the one upgrade and the one below it, and let them decide, you know, to know when to step back and let them do the decision.
Right.
Because you never want to be the one to cause to change their mind when they weren't bought in on it either.
Yeah.
Well, listening is most of what design is. I mean, a lot of designers might talk more than they listen. I think listening is key. You have to listen to what they're saying. We talk also. I mean, you do have to communicate your
Of course.
opinions, and because that's why they hired us. But ultimately, you have to sit and listen and hear what it is that their needs are.
Yeah, and learning about them. I've often, you know, we have these, every now and then we have these, not conflicts, but these situations where they said, I want this, I want that. I was like, great, let's run with that, right? And then we presented it. It was like, oh, but I was like, well, let's go back to, you know, to what you said and think.
Right.
But it's really getting to know them, understanding them in a way that it might help them, you know, make a decision. But it's a lot of listening for sure.
It's a relationship. I mean,
Yeah.
you're with these people sometime more than you're at home. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and they've
100%.
allowed you into their home, and you meet their families and their extended family, and you really get to know them on an intimate level. So you want to make sure that you are listening and, you know, conveying whatever it is that they need you to convey, and going back to the table if something doesn't work, because it's a partnership.
Yeah.
The timing of those decisions, though, it's crucial because downstream, like once construction starts and all that stuff, I think it becomes more hurting than helpful if they deviate from that initial plan. So, like, it's always key for, I guess, for designing team to like go back to that idea and really, really check with the client if they really want to deviate, because it could just hurt them more than what they can gain cost-wise, especially
Absolutely.
construction. If I'm getting changes on the go for something that I've already done, it's just, it could have been so much easier to do before. So,
Do you really want to do this? 'Cause it's
Exactly.
going to cost you X amount of
Exactly.
dollars.
Yeah.
yes.
So that's good to create a scenario, right? Like here's like, so every decision that I tell clients, every decision I want you to make, I want you to be well informed. You know, pros and cons of what that decision is. So by the time they get to say yes, it's something they kind of, you know, they have an expectation and they sort of know. But they don't want to surprise along the way, you know.
Yeah.
The hardest part to tie in the whole home is the fixtures and the color, because I've seen that a lot, like where, oh, it's just a shower head, no, and then now you have to think about even the toilet handle that you had chosen a different color. We have to change that.
Accessories.
Accessories, you know, the paper towel holder, everything else, like it's all details. And with appliances, also doing the changes where you have adjustable handle colors now.
Right.
And they work so hard to try to match, but not every brand matches every other plumbing brand.
Right.
So it's like, you know, working with someone in the store, it's like, okay, which one do you fall in love with first? I'll tell you the appliance brand that will match this color. You know, or if you like the appliance one, I'll tell you which plumbing brand matches this, because not every one match every single time.
Correct. Right.
And procurement is even more important now after pandemic, because sometimes you need to give up on products because availability or lead times. So
Yeah.
like a change in plumbing could have impacts, as you say, on like the type of appliances because now I can't match it. So,
Right.
you know, now it used to be like that for way before in commercial multifamily. I've seen this forever, like because those clients are buying hundreds of kitchens at the same time,
Right.
right? So it kind of like was a big issue. But now even small residential is a first round of checking if like is everything available. Like it wasn't like this. It was more like again the commercial multifamily always, but that knowledge is trickling down to residential for like hey, you know, let's do a procurement log and let's see what's the critical path here, and if this doesn't arrive on time, then can we continue? And so it's becoming a lot more technical on the residential side because of those.
You have to know when to pivot too. Like, at what point do we not wait for the range that's a year out? So, and that happened.
Yes.
That happened during the pandemic. We had a suite, a client suite, and the range was not coming. It was not coming.
So one of those European ranges.
It was Samsung.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was. It was. It was
for our
decor.
outlet.
Yeah.
We did a lot of loaners those times.
Yeah.
And she was able to pivot. I said, "Do you want to
Yeah.
wait, or do you
Elevate.
want to?" But it was delaying her kitchen. So
Right.
we ended up picking something else. She loves it just as much, but it was like, okay, how do we pivot? But I left the decision up to the family. If
Right.
you want to wait, we can wait. But just know that this is going to delay the rest of your kitchen. But I'm okay if that's what you want to do. But just having the ability to be able to pivot and make decisions that are going to be best for the client. We gave our opinion. Ultimately, we didn't sway her either way. It's your decision. We came back to the show. Okay, this is what we can get right now, and they ultimately pivoted, and they're happier with what they selected. So,
As we wrap this up, I'm going to do a final word because I've got a question for you. The question is, I think I forgot the question. No, the question is, what would you like your clients to know now about kitchen design that they're going to be asking for in the next 12 to 18 months before they ever come to you, before you do your onboarding, before you talk to your new clients about their remodel, before they come to you and you start dealing with the design and what they want, and what would you like them to know about the process? The most important thing about the process that you don't think clients know coming in.
I would say, I guess on my end, I would say that if they come into the design with an idea of a clear idea of use, like what is the use that we want to extract from this space, it's going to make all the activities downstream a lot easier. So maybe do an internal chatting of like, hey, what are we going to do in this space? Who's going to be here? That's going to help make the design a lot more efficient on my end. So like it's more preparation on their side rather than specific.
I'm still thinking, do you want to go? You can go.
I think for me it would be, well, it's hard to ask them a knowledge of materials and products as things are changing constantly, especially with appliances. But I would like them to be more informed of how things are made and where they're made and their pros and cons. A lot of people have different opinions about certain brands that gets overlooked or underlooked. So I think a little bit of research on the appliances and cabinetry, those are the two biggest line items in a kitchen remodel that people have no idea what it cost and what's that over time use. I think appliances are tremendously important, because we can't redesign the kitchen without following especially if you're doing everything panel ready and everything's sort of nominal. So I think it'd be a little bit of research on the appliances and cabinetry.
I would agree. I think doing more research up front about what things cost, I would agree, because I think sometimes they have no idea at all. And they've seen it somewhere else and they think this is what it costs, but no real life research of what does this cost in my space. And then also just kind of a little discussion between the family of what is this space going to be used for, How do we want to utilize the space? What are the pros and cons? What are our must-haves? What is our budget? At least have a kind of a general idea. I know you might not get it exact, but have kind of a general idea, and maybe even look up what is the current kitchen cost in whatever area you're in, just so you kind of know. And then just letting the designers do what we do, and having that trust in us that we are guiding them in the right direction, I think is very important.
I think I would say sometimes it's our job to educate the client on some of the specifics, to piggyback off what you guys were saying as far as like quality. I think sometimes they don't know that they could have bought they see a certain brand somewhere, but when you go to a retailer sometimes, or certain vendors, it's the same. It might be the same brand, but it's not the same type of product. I guess the quality of the product. Right. When it comes down to something as simple as like a faucet, or something that's going in the kitchen, you could see Kohler, or you could see Delta, or you could see whatever at a Home Depot, but if you go direct to the wholesaler or to the vendor, it's the same brand, but it's a very different product. Correct. And I think they think it's the same thing, so they're not willing to pay. Correct. Right. And I think I've realized that in recent times when we've been doing some of our remodels, that those little details, we need to get better at even educating on that, because they want to kind of cut down on certain things. And you might want to do that, but in a year when that's not working and it causes a leak, or there's issues that come from that, now it's kind of like, I wish I would have known. And it's like, I think that's why it's so important to say, hey, you might want to consider doing it this way, right, to avoid those things, because it's going to happen. It's not like when, it's going to happen. Right. And I didn't even realize some of those brands were that very different.
Yeah, they make plastic parts for those.
Yes, exactly.
It's
the mechanics inside and the internal parts of those brands that are different. And little things like that, I think we need to get better at educating our clients on topics like that, even when it comes to cabinetry and certain things, so they know this is exactly why you're spending, that much more, or whatnot. And just the overall process. I think pre-framing the process to set the correct expectations. We kind of always assume they know, even if they've done remodels and stuff, like, oh, you probably already remember how it goes, but I think it's important when we work with contractors and whatnot to get schedules in, to get all the information. Your process might be different from somebody else. I need to get that information so we're all on the same page and the client knows what's going on. And then that way there's really no surprises and you're not trying to backtrack.
Yeah, one of my go-to points, even if selecting just appliances or anything, the first question I like to ask, and especially if you're talking about remodel, what is it that you liked about your space and what is it that you didn't like? Because that doesn't mean just because we're remodeling, we have to start from scratch. Because if you tell me what you like, I could get you close to the items that are like that one, and we could just go from adding from there. And if what you didn't like, I won't waste my time showing you that product or that type of item. Like that's how I choose like appliances a lot of the times. I ask what they've owned before and what are the things they like, they dislike, then I know from there where to pivot.
Thank you, JR, Daniel, Denise, Tanisha, Verzine. Thank you so much for coming out and participating in this conversation. Love your takes, love your approach. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you to my incredible partner sponsors, Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, TimberTech, Best Buy, and Shelter Republic. Their sponsorship of Convo by Design allows me to seek out sublime design stories from beyond the work itself and showcase unique personalities, chasing new ideas and changing the way we think about design and architecture, and present it to you. So please give them an opportunity on your next project. Thank you for listening and sharing this journey of ours. 2026 marks 13 years of constant publication of the podcast with 700 plus interviews, thousands of guests. Just amazing. And without you, there's really no point in doing this. So thank you. Please keep those guest suggestions coming, as well as thoughts about where you'd like to see the show record live. Convo by Design at Outlook.com, and on Instagram, Convo by Design with an X. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused and driven so you can rise above the chaos.